About 6 years ago, I was seated in a very prominent restaurant with my mother and some of the top people in professional football, some of the top writers, and we were talking about signing of players. And my mother asked me, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I've got problems. I haven't signed Mike Haynes, Todd Christensen, Lester Hayes, and I named 2 others. And I said, they just want too much money." Her answer was, "Without them, what kind of team you gonna have? Give them the money, you can't take it with you."
And a lot of Davis dollars have been pumped into the local community this week as billboards congratulating John Madden for his induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame are all over town here. And that was a speech that Al Davis delivered 14 years ago as he was inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as introduced by that man, John Madden, who in a matter of moments will be introduced by Al Davis, who has flown in all the way from the West Coast to deliver a record 9th introductory speech at a Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we can't wait to hear, not only because he's Al Davis, not only because he's so steeped in history, but once again, in case you're joining us, all of the presenters have been given their speeches beforehand to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I have in my hand 5 of them.
There's only 5.
There's one missing because one wasn't
Who do you
currently
think that
delivered.
might be?
That'd be Al Davis. So we don't know sort of what he's going to say.
Anything could happen here, Rich.
The ultimate maverick about to introduce John Madden, and he's got the silver tie, the black shirt.
Yeah, he always wears the either white sweatsuit or
the
black,
tracksuit,
or
right,
of course
yeah.
the silver, and that's what you always see him at, whether it's at the combine or over at the facility.
Right.
He's silver and black, true and true. I don't know who I'm more anxious to hear, Al Davis or John Madden.
John Madden is certainly going to be quite an entertaining matter of moments we're about to be privy to. As
Look at that.
Look at that. They're all here. The Black Hole is very well represented. And John Madden, he is no doubt nervous, and he does have, it appears to be, prepared comments under his right arm right there. We can't wait to hear what John is going to say, as he's waited 27 years for this moment to come. You had to pull him off the ceiling in Detroit. He was so walking on air when he found out that he was finally going in. And as a coach, too, Steve.
As a coach, that's what he wanted as a coach. And he's enjoyed such a great career. When I interviewed him back a month ago, that weekend he was having a party. His son was throwing a party at his home. And he said, "I'm going to go practice my speech."
There you go. Here's Al Davis. Sit back and enjoy, people.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. It's always great to come back to the Hall of Fame. Today, it's a very emotional and inspirational experience for me to present the great John Madden into the enshrinement in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. John Madden, a brilliant coach, a loyal and trusted friend, a Raider. His record is self-explanatory. 103 victories in 10 years is unparalleled in National Football League history. The Raiders always wanted to have the best organization in professional sports, wanted to have the best players, the best coaches, play in the best games, have the best plays, and have the best record in professional football. And some 40 years ago, I hired a 32-year-old coach to carry the torch for the Raiders and do all the things that I just talked about that we wanted to do. John Madden, over the 10 seasons of his coaching career, he led the Raiders to the playoffs 8 of those years, including 7 division championships, bringing the Raiders their first world championship. John's .759 regular season percentage ranks as the highest ever with coaches in the National Football League. John coached in the golden era of great coaches. In his 10 years, John coached against many who are enshrined in this Hall of Fame. Don Shula of Miami, Chuck Noll of Pittsburgh, Tom Landry of Dallas, Weeb Ewbank, Sid Gilman, Hank Stram, Bud Grant, and others who are enshrined in this Hall of Fame. John's first professional head job, he was 32 years old. And John did what you would call the impossible. In his 10 years of coaching against these great legends, he won more games than he lost against every Hall of Fame coach in this great shrine here in the National Football League. His record, and of course his record was the Raiders' record of 36, 16-2 against those great coaches, dominating the stage that was Monday Night Football. Madden's teams had a record of 11-1-1, and boy, did the Raiders dominate Monday Night Football. I told you we wanted to play in the greatest games. We wanted the greatest plays. You all remember the Immaculate Reception. You all remember the Heidi game. You all remember Sea of Hands, the Holy Roller, Ghost to the Post, the Lytle fumble, the miracles of George Blanda, the man on the sideline during all those events that have become synonymous with Raider football was John Madden. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league, and you can see it today in everything he does with his games and his TV work. He loved the AFL and the NFL, and especially his players. And at a time when our country needed it, John Madden saw no color. The Raiders, more than any other organization, politically, football, sports, led the fight for diversity, and John Madden was in the middle of that fight. It was pretty tough in those days, in the 70s and in the early 80s, to lead that fight. But the Raiders had one thing in mind. We wanted to win. And to win, you had to have the best players. And so, as I said, he saw no color. 9 Raider legends, 9, are in this hall. The indestructible Jim Otto, he's here today. The great clutch player, George Blanda. The undefeated Willie Brown, who was only beaten by Father Time as a cornerback. The magical hands of Fred Blitnikoff. The famed Highway 63 and 78. Gene Upshaw, president of the Players Association. And Art Shell, head coach of the Raiders. Ted Hendricks is here today, the great linebacker. And of course, the ghost of the post, Dave Casper, along with myself, have waited patiently for some 25 years for John to join us as enshrined in this Hall of Fame. We recognize you, Virginia Madden. That's John's wife, his sons, Mike and Joey. They were a football family so that John could pursue his dreams. Because when you worked for Al Davis and you worked for the Raiders, there was no time for golf. There was no time for the kids. There was one thing: Raider football, silver and black football. To Virginia, our friendship will always continue. You were there when it was important, and we'll be there for you. Today is a day when our heroes of the past become our legends of the future. I've said this before. Time never really stops for the great ones. We wrap them in a cloak of immortality and remember what great people they were. It's a great inspiration for me to come to this field of dreams every year. I've had the honor to present 9 other people, 8 who played for the Raiders, 1 who played for the San Diego Chargers, the great Lance Allworth. But I love to come here because I wanted to pay tribute to this great class: Aikman, Carson, Moon, the great Rayfield Wright, and the others, Madden, of course. And I wanted to say hello once again to the great players behind me in whose glory we all shared, those legends. And it has always, as Harry Carson said, brought a realization to the Raiders that we owe a debt to these great people behind us. And as I've said before, the Raiders will never forget that debt. But let's go back to Oakland for a moment. Let's go back to the 1970s. Let's fill that stadium one more time with the staff and the administrative people who poured their heart and soul into the Raiders. Let's go back to the great Raider warriors who are here today, and to those who are no longer with us, but whose memories we cherish, and those great Raider warriors who are watching up there today, who will lead us in the future. I say, let's line you up under the goalposts one more time, and have you introduced, all individually, once again, to roar of that Oakland crowd. We can never forget those great moments. The roar would be deafening to see you trot out in those black jerseys, those silver helmets. John Madden, the chill goes through my body as I hear that roar and think of all those special people. But see you, John, down on the sidelines, prowling those sidelines, yelling at officials, that flaming red hair, those arms moving left and right, screaming at Raider players, and most of all, winning football games. But that is fantasy, and fantasy isn't the answer here today. But what is not fantasy is you coming up to this podium to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, the great John Madden.
John Madden getting introduced by Al Davis. Here's John's speech.
You know, you always think of, what it would be like if you ever enshrined into the Hall of Fame, and people say, what will you do when you get up to the podium? And I tell them, I don't know. I'll tell you when I get up there. And right now, I don't have a lot of, I got like numb, a tingle, from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. This is so special. All the guys talk about who's going to, break up. I started to break up when Al Davis was talking. And so if they have a contest or any bet, I knew I was going to lose that one anyway. But I just wanted to take this first moment just to make a memory and, say how special this feeling is. To be in here, in Canton, with these great people of Canton, Ohio. I mean, you can't believe the job that they do. It's not only today, I mean, the game, the parade. I mean, they have 100,000 people at the parade at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, this is a special place. And this is a celebration of football. And when you celebrate pro football, it has to be here in Canton, Ohio, because this is where the NFL started. And I want to thank you people and all the pro football fans and the pro football writers that voted me into the Hall of Fame, led by, Frank Cooney and Ira Miller. A special thanks to them. But, everyone that made that possible. It was a long wait, but it was a wait that, when you finally get in, it's made it all worthwhile because the feeling is so special and you appreciate it so much more. And the class that I go in with, I mean, Harry Carson and Rayfield Wright and Warren Moon and, Reggie White and Sarah, and Troy Aikman is such a great thing, and I'm proud to be in this class because we're always going to be connected with each other. We'll always be, the class of 2006, and that'll be forever. And I'll tell you, these are all good people, good guys, and I am proud as hell to go into this 2006 Hall of Fame class with these guys. These are good, and more people. And then, the Hall of Famers behind me, that's what it's all about. I was reading the NFL stats and history book, and that's what when you do when you ride a bus, when you don't fly, you read, big old thick books like that. But they had a chapter on history. And the first page in the chapter of history was a list of the Hall of Famers. And I said, that's right, they got it. That is our history. The players that played before us, the players that played when they didn't have face masks, when they had leather helmets, when got this thing started, the players that played in smaller stadiums, didn't have the medical thing, didn't have anything, they laid the foundation for this great game, and we should never forget it. I say to NFL teams that you ought to honor your history more. Sometimes we tend to get caught up in the players and the games now. Honor your history. Bring back the Hall of Famers. Bring back their teammates. Let the fans show their appreciation to their history. Because I know that, going in with these guys is so special. And, we always talk about immortality, and some of us think maybe we will be immortal, that we'll live forever. But when you really think about it, we're not going to be. But I say this, and this is overwhelming and mind-blowing, that through this bust, with these guys in that hall, we will be forever. And when you think of that, it just blows your mind, that it's forever and ever and ever. And you have to stay with me a moment on this one. This is a little goofy here, and you're going to say, oh, there's old Madden being goofy again. But I started thinking about this after I got voted into the Hall of Fame. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's true. And now I know it's true and I believe it. Here's the deal. I think over in the Hall of Fame that during the day, the people go through and they look at everything. And then at night, there's a time when they all leave. And all the fans and all the visitors leave the Hall of Fame. Then there's just the workers. Then the workers start to leave. And then it gets down, there's just one person. And that person turns out the light, locks the door. I believe that the busts talk to each other. And I can't wait for that conversation. I really can't. To Vince LaMarche, to Newt Rockne, to Reggie, to Walter Payton, to the guys that you want to say, to all my players, my ex-players, we'll be there forever and ever and ever talking about, whatever. And that's what I believe, and that's what I think is going to happen, and no one's ever going to talk me out of that. Thank you. Those guys back here all going, oh no, I don't have to put up with this BS for eternity. But this is a celebration, and it should be fun, and it has to be great. And to have Al Davis here is something special. I mean, if it weren't for Al, I wouldn't be here. And he was the guy that gave me an opportunity. He was the guy that hired me 40 years ago, brought me into pro football. He was the guy that made me a head coach when I was 32 years old. And I had 2 years of pro coaching experience. Now that's who the heck names a guy 32 years old as a head coach? Al Davis did. But he not only named me head coach, but he stood behind me, and he helped me, and he provided me with players, with great players. As he was saying, 9 of the players were in the Hall of Fame. I mean, those are the types of players that he provided me with. And he stood behind me, not only the 10 years I was a head coach, but he stood behind me for the last 40 years. And Al Davis is a friend, always has been a friend. I remember I had the opportunity to induct him into the Hall of Fame, and at the time I said, talking about loyalty and what a guy Al Davis was, I said that he's the guy that, if you had anything happen, you had one phone call, who would you make that phone call to? I said it would be Al Davis. All these years later, I had an opportunity. I got voted into the Hall of Fame. I had a phone call to make for a presenter, and I called Al Davis. Yeah, I just talked to my mom, and she's watching, and hi Mom, I love you, and I know I was talking about how excited I am and how I haven't slept in 3 days, and my mind is mushing. She just said, me too. And she has the same feelings, and and she's not right here, but she's here in spirit, and she's a special person that's been with me for 70 years of my life. And I know that my dad, who died in 1960, is up there looking down and laughing. And my mom's probably laughing right now, too, because when I was like a sophomore in high school, I was playing in summer baseball, and I was playing on 3 or 4 different teams. And I told my dad, I'm going to drop a couple of these because I want to get a job to make some money. And my dad said, no, he said, I'll give you a couple bucks, go caddy, make a few loops, and you'll be okay. He said, don't work. He said, because once you start work, you're going to have to work the rest of your life. And my dad worked hard. He was a mechanic, and he worked hard. And the reason I say that he's up there laughing right now is because I listened to him, and I continued to play, and I have never worked a day in my life. I went from player to coach to a broadcaster, and I am the luckiest guy in the world. And my sisters, Dolores and Judy, they were there with me. They supported, everything that I did, because life with me as a kid was just a locker room. Every day was recess, and they knew that, and they went along with it and supported everything, and I love them, and I appreciate that. If there was a Hall of Fame for families, my family would be in the Hall of Fame. My wife, Virginia, my 2 sons, Joe and Mike. They talk about how hard coaches work, and they work 18, 20 hours a day. They sleep on a couch. They don't come home. And, that's not the hard job. The hard job is a coach's wife, believe me. The job of the coach's wife is she has to be mother, father, driver, doctor, nurse, coach, everything, because the coach is out there working. So, when anyone is appreciated, they have to appreciate the wife, and I had the greatest, and I have the greatest in Virginia. Thank you. Stand up, you deserve it. After all those years putting up with me, you deserve to stand up and take a bow on this day. And my 2 sons, Mike and Joe, I'm so proud of them. They're not only my 2 sons, but they're my 2 best friends. And just everything that they do. I used to, when they were kids, I used to take them to practice on Saturdays, and I'd take them to the Pro Bowl, and I coached Pro Bowl way too damn many times, but I used to take them to the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl, every time I could, and those were special times. As I look back now, in my coaching career, I think of my family, and I think of the days that we spent together. And I say this to coaches everywhere: if you ever have a chance to take your kids with you, take them. Don't miss that opportunity, because when it's all over and done with, and you look back, those are going to be your fondest memories. And when you go into Hall of Fame, at my age, then you have kids who have wives, and then they have kids. So Mike's wife is Noelle, Joe's wife is Wendy. And then between them, they've given me 5 grandkids that I love to death, and they're the love of my life. They're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Sam, Jack, Jesse, Aiden, and McKenna. And that's what it's all about. It's about family, and and having them here with your team. I know I go into the Hall of Fame as a coach, and I know that I go into the Hall of Fame because of my players and what they did. And I'm so proud, Al already introduced the players that are in the Hall of Fame behind me. If they just stand up, and all my players that are out there, there's between 30 and 40 ex-Raider players. All stand up. Stand up. My family, stand up. Stand up. Just take your day. Just take. You remember them. You remember Cliff Branch. You remember Phil Villapiano. You remember Big Ben Davidson. You remember all these guys, John Valla, Henry Lawrence, all these guys that did all these things. And no, stay up. This is our day in the sun. Doggone it, take it. If we're here, stay up and take it, and you guys stand up and take it too. Fred Blitnikoff, the whole thing, Big Ben Davidson there. These are the guys. This is what it was all about. These are the guys that I go in here and no, stand up, Ben. All of a sudden, 30 or 40 years ago, they were ready to hit anything, talk anything, let's go to the party, let's do all this. Now they want to sit down. Stand up, enjoy the moment. This is ours. They can't take it away from us. They can't ever take us away from us. And thanks to all you, Gus, the whole bunch of you. I love you. Thank you very, very much. Marv Hubbard, you remember all those great Raider names in the 70s, and we had such special fans, and the whole thing, it was just something, that I'll never forget, and something that, if it weren't for them, we'll have a party after too, so don't worry about it. We'll go through, and it's been a great road from Madden's lot in Daly City with, John Robinson. John, who would believe this, huh? This is amazing. And, to Jefferson High School with my first real coach, Joe McGrath, and then to Roy Hughes at Cal Poly. My roommate, Pat Lovell, is here, my college roommate. Then to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Norm Van Brocklin had a great influence on me. To Hancock College with Al Baldock. Then to San Diego State with a great coach that someday will be in here, Don Coryell. And he had a real influence on my coaching. And Joe Gibbs was on that staff too. And then we went to the Oakland Raiders. John Rouse was the head coach. Ollie Spencer, Tom Doms, Charlie Sumner, John Polanchik was there. Joe Scannella, Tom Flores came later. All those great coaches, John Robinson. I thank you all, because, again, you go in as a coach, but you take your players and your assistant coaches with you. And and it's been so long that I had a pretty good road afterwards also. And I ride a bus, I don't fly, and the road has been with Dave Hahn, who was my first bus driver, who passed away, Willie Yarborough, Joe Mitchell. I spend so much time with them that they're part of my team now and my family. And then Sandy Montag is my agent. He's been with me for over 20 years, and agent schmagent. He's a friend, and he's a very good friend, and I thank him for everything that he has done for me. And my years at CBS and Fox were pretty good with Pat Summerall. and you know, in that team, and Bob Stenner and Sandy Grossman. And then, you know, I say I'm the luckiest guy in the world, then I go to ABC and now NBC with Al Michaels, Fred Gaudelli, and Drew Esikoff. And by the way, we have a game right over here tomorrow night. So you talk about a full weekend. I mean, man, they have dinners and parades and, you know, induction ceremonies, and then a game tomorrow night, which will be broadcasting the first one that I do with NBC. So I just want to say in closing, there's been a great ride. And I want to thank everyone who's been along for any part of it. And speaking of great rides, I was lucky enough to be carried off the field after we won Super Bowl 11. Now, I was told it took like 5 or 6 guys to lift me up, and then they dropped me. But that's okay, because that was me and that was them. I mean, they aren't going to carry me off like, you know, some guy that belonged to a carrier. I mean, you carry him off for a while, boom, you dump him. I'm there in the ground. But it was the happiest moment of my life. And today feels like the second time in my life that I'm being carried off the shoulders of others. Yet instead of off the field, it's into the Hall of Fame. And instead of 5 or 6 guys, today I ride in the shoulders of hundreds of friends, coaches, players, colleagues, family. And I just say this, I thank you all very much. And this has been the sweetest ride of them all. Thank you.
Well, Steve Mariucci, it was as advertised, was it not?
It was great. You know, Al Davis said something that really impressed me when John competed. We knew his record was 103 wins in 10 years, but when he competed against all the other Hall of Fame coaches, his record was 36-16. That's amazing against that great competition.
And then I guess the memorable part of the speech is when he had all of his players who were in attendance stand up, and he was still coaching them, telling them to keep standing.
See what he did? He had his family and his players and coaches. That's the Raider Nation, the Raider family that they talk about, and that was touching because there's so many of them. There's so many Raiders around here, and there's so many inducted into this hall, and boy, they're all here.
We also got a boom out of that at the end of the boom, you know, and then we also got the sort of language that he's become so popular for when he talked about how all the busts, when the room closes for the night, they all talk to one another, and he says that we're gonna talk forever and forever and forever about whatever. That couldn't have been more Madden in a nutshell, right there.
Drive all the other buses crazy because he won't stop.
That's what he
forever.
Well, we're halfway in the books. We're 2 hours plus into the ceremony, but we're halfway through the Canton class of 2006 being enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Coming up next, the first African-American modern-day quarterback to go in, Warren Moon.
NFL Network goes coast to coast inside the training camps of 12 NFL teams. Get the first look as teams get ready for the 2006 season. Inside training camp with the Falcons, Monday at 8.
Would you like to lower your mortgage payments up to 30%?
I could reduce my monthly payments? Tell me how.
Smart Choice, the home loan exclusively from Quicken Loans. Whether you're buying a new home or refinancing, Smart Choice is the answer. Here's an example. A traditional 30-year loan for $150,000 at 7.5% interest would be $1,070 a month. But with Smart Choice, that same loan would be an amazingly low $745 a month. That's a difference of $3,900 a year.
That's good news. So what are we waiting for?
Call toll-free now and see how you can lower your monthly mortgage payments. The Smart Choice loan will lower your monthly payments up to 30%. It's great for refinancing or for purchasing that new home. Gives you monthly payment flexibility so you can decide to pay just interest or make payments to principal whenever you want. Plus, with Smart Choice, you'll have extra money each month to remodel your home, pay off credit cards, or whatever you need. It's your choice with Smart Choice. Call this number right now while rates are still low and see how you can lower your monthly payments up to 30% and have more money on hand every month.
Reducing my monthly payments would be great.
It's easy to see how Smart Choice can lower your payments by thousands of dollars a year, no matter what your loan amount. Take a look. The difference can be $3,900, $6,300, even $11,000 a year. Smart Choice, the home loan exclusively from Quicken Loans, can work for you, even if you just refinanced.
We got all our home loans from Quicken Loans. We'd never go anywhere else.
So if you're refinancing or if you're buying a new home, call this toll-free number now or go to quickenloans.com and lower your mortgage payments up to 30%. But don't wait. Take advantage today before rates go up.
Madden holiday is here and we will play all night. Calling sick and sound sincere in tackles will delight. The fridge is packed with drink and meat. The taste of victory sure is sweet. Come, my friends, on this launch day. Hail Marys we will throw. It's Madden NFL. Hooray! We'll humble all our foes. Simmons coming! Rated E for everyone.
See what it takes to be an NFL cheerleader with the San Diego Chargers.
My stomach is turning as we speak. There's no guarantee.
Feel the heat with Making the Squad tomorrow at 8, only on NFL Network.
I'm Jeff Fisher, and you're watching NFL Network.
Earlier, Rayfield Wright was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame with the quarterback he protected in the Pro Football Hall of Fame behind him, and Roger Staubach. Is Warren Moon about to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Adam Schefter standing by with a Hall of Famer who blocked for Moon, and that's Canton Class of 01, Mike Munchak.
A 48-hour reprieve from Titans training camp from Mike Munchak. Jeff Fisher had no problems giving you the weekend off, huh?
No, Jeff's great about these things. The game's real important to him. He knows this is a big day, and with Warren Moon going in from our organization, I've been happy to be down here to represent.
You blocked for Warren Moon for 8 seasons. What was it like to block for a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Well, he helped us make us a lot better. He was a big reason why we went to the playoffs 7 years in a row. And people don't remember, he ran the run and shoot, and a lot was asked of him, and he ran the option. He checked plays at the line of scrimmage. He did an awful lot. He's a great leader. And we just knew it was a matter. He just had to retire to get a chance to get in here because he played forever. So I'm just really happy for him. It's well-deserved, and I'm glad I could be here for him.
When Warren Moon came to the NFL, there were a lot of questions about whether he could do it. How long did it take you to realize that he was a different type of quarterback, even a Hall of Fame quarterback?
I think it was work ethic. We saw that right away, how important it was to him, how important the game was, how hard he worked, the extra stuff he did after practice and before practice. And we were a young team at the time. He was exactly what we needed. So it didn't take long. We knew he had something special going on. And then when he led us, the way he put the team on his shoulders for all those years during the run and shoot years, we knew something.